Chapter 5, Virginia Tech, Blacksburg, Virginia, Monday, April 16, 2007. Gerry Peters, Jr. revisits Monday, April 16, 2007 every day of his life. Sometimes it's from the twinge in his back where the fragments lie, too close to his spine, too close to his heart. The continuously giving present that is a hollow point bullet. Sometimes it's the time. For whatever reason, the moment he was shot, he glanced at his watch. 9:49 a.m. Felt like every time he looked at his watch, it read 9:49, so he stopped wearing watches. Sometimes it's from the haircut he has, a slight comb-over that covers the side of his head where no hair can grow, thanks to another one of those hollow points. Sometimes it's from the weather, playing tricks with his repaired left shoulder, arthritis setting in on a 31-year-old. Usually, it's fear. The fear he felt when his French instructor was blown apart trying to keep the lunatic out of the room. Fear when the ROTC kid charged and ate 7 hollow points for his trouble. Unimaginable terror when the lunatic walked very calmly to the opposite corner of the room, his corner of the room, and started firing. Bang, bang, bang! That's what he remembered. Then he was lying on the ground, in pain, but fully conscious and aware. He must not moan. He must not whimper. He must not move one muscle, or he will die. And he watched as his fellow students took those fucking hollow points to their heads, and those heads exploded like ripe melons. But not a moan, not a whimper, not a movement. Finally, the lunatic stuck what Gerry later discovered was a Glock 19 to his right temple, then blew his own head off. Then the police, the ambulances, the doctors, the surgeries. But still and always, the fear. It hadn't always been that way. If there was such a thing as local television royalty, Gerry had been born into it. His father, Gerry Peters Sr., had been an anchorman at WRC in Washington, D.C., what seemed like forever, over 25 years. His mother, Roberta Simpson Peters, had been one of the first anchorwomen in the D.C. market and then transferred seamlessly into the now familiar role of a talking head, an expert in national politics. If the phrase power couple hadn't already been invented, it would have been for Gerry and Roberta. Fortunately for the greater Washington, D.C. area, and for Gerry Jr., they were the same way off camera as they were on. Wonderful, doting parents, one of them always there for every event Gerry Jr. participated in. As far as charities went, they were incredibly generous with their time. Both were on the boards of several nonprofits. They were among the leaders in having both TV and radio companies contribute more time and money to charitable causes. Gerry Jr. wanted to be like his dad and mom. At around 5 or 6, he decided he wanted to be a television journalist. A TV guy is what he called it. Every once or twice a week, either Gerry or Roberta would take young Gerry on set. While there, he'd be introduced not only to the other TV personalities and the newsmakers, but also to the producers, directors, cameramen, lighting, sound, editing, everyone. Both Roberta and Gerry Sr. would use almost the same wording when introducing any of the technical support. Gerry, I'd like you to meet Dave. He makes me look good, sound good, look intelligent. And young Gerry could tell they meant it, not only from their smiles and body language, but also from the tone in their voice. Gerry Jr. grew to love not only television's content, but also its process. Gerry grew to be as handsome and as smart as his parents. Attending Bishop Ireton, a Catholic college prep school in Alexandria, Virginia, he achieved a 4.0 average while starring on the debate team, several plays, editing the school newspaper and yearbook, and participating in student government. Every action deliberately thought out by Gerry and his parents. They never forced him into their chosen profession. It was quite the opposite. To the surprise of many, including their son, Gerry and Roberta had tried to push him into government, to be the interviewed, rather than the interviewer. They realized the amazing hand both had been dealt. They were not forced to begin their careers in some small market, with the always distinct possibility that there they would stay and stagnate. They were Washingtonians, born and bred. They began their careers in D.C. The town grew to appreciate their work and grew to love their on-air friendliness and accessibility. They knew they had been incredibly lucky. They appreciated it. They doubted lightning would strike in the same place 3 times. So young Gerry met congressmen and governors and senators and 4 presidents, and his mother, or his father, or both, would stare in amazement as their son, instead of being in awe or starstruck or at a loss for words, would shake their hand and immediately start asking them questions about themselves, about their job. As he got older, about specific legislation or about their political campaigns. And with the answers would come what Gerry and Roberta would, after hearing it so many times, laughingly call Chip. He's a chip off the old block. Yes, he was. With his 4.0 and all his extracurricular successes came acceptance letters from a dozen universities, along with offers of either full or partial scholarships. 11 of them were wasting their paper. The decision had been made a while ago after spending a couple of days in the journalism department of Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, known to all as Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia. There was one major caveat before Gerry and Roberta sent their son to Tech. The department was not to use Gerry Jr. or either of his parents in any way, shape, or form, including recruiting or fundraising. Gerry Jr. was not to receive special treatment, was not to be referred to at any time as the son of, and was not to be singled out for any purpose due to his parents' celebrity. This was something the family had discussed in great detail. Gerry Jr. understood that he had available to him an amazing opportunity, the absolute certainty of beginning his career in one of the major markets in the country. However, with that opportunity would also come intense pressure to, from day one, be as good as or better than his exceptionally talented, and with 25 plus years experience, parents. Gerry knew he would always have that opportunity in his hip pocket should the time arise. However, he was confident in his own ability, guided in no small part by 2 of the leading broadcasters in the country. He would work harder at Tech than he did at BI. He would start out in that small market that his parents warned him about. He would take his lumps, make his mistakes, but also create his successes and move up in his chosen field on his own merits, on his own talents, and with a different name. Peters would stay. That only had a larger meaning in D.C. However, Gerry Peters Jr. would surely be recognized by every knowledgeable station owner, general manager, or news director in the country. Again, as a family, they came up with the alternative, the one that Tech would have to abide by, that special caveat, for Gerry to stay. And when someone did suggest it, family lore has it that it was Roberta, they all roared with laughter. Charles Chip Peters. It was Chip Peters who arrived on campus September 2005, 18 years old, unlike high school, a small fish in a very big pond. However, if there was a way to measure inner self-confidence, Chips would have climbed off the screen. He'd never had any trouble meeting people, nor any trouble as far as girls were concerned. And early on, he had to keep reminding himself why he was there, especially when there were parties to attend or bands to see. Virginia Tech was known as one of the top party schools in the country, in part because of the many clubs, restaurants, and hangouts catering to the students in Blacksburg. Every fraternity wanted him to pledge. When he could feel himself losing focus, one call to mom or dad would help bring everything back. Hey, Dad. Hey, Chip. What's up? Everybody drinks. Everybody gets high. You should smell my dorm. Son, you're describing 2/3 of Capitol Hill. Laughter. Seriously, the legislators drink and the staff gets high because of all the work the legislators give them. All I want is to get my work done. Son, you're never going to get all your work done. It'll always be there. We've talked about this. It's important that you experience life because then you'll understand when people do the things they do. A great reporter, a great anchor, a great talking head, whatever you want to do, becomes great only when they understand people, the human condition, the why of who, what, when, where, why. The first 4 are easy. It's the last one that's a bitch. I know. You know. You're twice as smart as your mom and I put together. Here's what you do. You go out, you have a beer or 2. Enjoy yourself. But at the same time, make it an exercise. Watch. Observe. Then go back to your room and write it all down. See what people are wearing, what they're saying, Who's the leader? Who are the followers? Who's the funny one? Who's sad? Who's uncomfortable? What was discussed? Was anything discussed? What type of bar? I got it, Dad. That's actually a fun idea. I knew you'd think it fun. You're a chip off the old block. They both laughed. Thanks, Dad. Down the road, when your career may depend on it, you'll see, feel, sense something in a story that others won't, because you trained yourself to look at everything, not just the immediate or the obvious. Your mom and I are enormously proud of you. We love you very much. Love you too, Dad. Going out to observe. One more small detail. Yeah, Dad? Don't get arrested. It looks shitty on a resume. Laughter. I promise. Gerry went out, went to the campus bookstore, and bought the first of what would be well over 100 spiral 5-section composition notebooks. With a black felt marker, he wrote who, what, when, where, why, one on each of the dividers. Then he went out and had fun. An easy thing to do if you're a smart, handsome Virginia Tech student with an easygoing personality. Even though he didn't return home until 1:30 a.m., he still had the discipline to write in as much detail as he could remember the who, what, when, where, why of his evening, leaving nothing out, including everything, even some passages he would never read to his parents or attorney and future employers. It was an exercise he would continue well into his journalistic career, transporting all his 5W books wherever his life took him. For the next 2 years, life settled into a comfortable pattern for Gerry. His multimedia studies were going very well, with almost all 4.0s. He would head home for the holidays. The summers were spent officially interning at WRC, reinforcing and expanding on what he was learning at Tech. There were friends, there were girlfriends. However, as his parents would often say, Gerry Peters Jr. was the most focused, driven individual they had ever known. Focused and driven, but also approachable, modest, humble. His father quietly predicted to friends that Gerry will win every journalistic award there is to win. He won't give up on a story, but the key will be that folks will be honest with him because they like him. As he entered the second semester of his junior year, Gerry was progressing toward his chosen career at a smooth, easy pace. He was already excelling in senior and graduate level courses. He was taking electives that he thought would help him down the road. One of those electives was French. Monday, April 16, 2007, found him in room 211 in Norris Hall in his intermediate French class. He had heard that there had been a shooting at West Ambler Johnston Hall. 1 dead, 1 still alive. He hadn't heard anything else, including anything from school authorities. He heard the first shots at 9:40 a.m. They were coming from room 206, where a lunatic, after looking in and casing the room twice, burst in, killed the professor, then killed 9 out of the 13 students and wounded 2. Then it was room 207, killing the professor and 4 students, with 6 wounded. By that time, Gerry and the others in room 211 had tried to put up a barricade in front of the door. That didn't work. Of the 17 students in intermediate French that Monday, 11 were killed. 6 were wounded, including Gerry, and the instructor was killed. It wasn't over for another few minutes. Of the wounded still left in room 211, the person with the clearest head, even through the pain, the close to pass-out pain, was Gerry Peters. He was watching and listening to everything, especially the type of weapons used. Semi-automatics, firing rapidly, easy reloading. He paid attention to where the shots had been fired from, the path of the lunatic through room 211, the order of students and teachers shot. From the moment police and paramedics arrived and found out how much detailed information Gerry, chipped to them, remembered, they peppered him with questions, so many in fact that the EMTs had to beg detectives to please allow them to do their jobs. The most focused young man they had ever seen. That's what Gerry and Roberta had said to everyone about their son. When their charter plane arrived in Blacksburg and they rushed to Montgomery Regional Hospital and literally ran into their son's room, a small part of them was not surprised to see Gerry, bandage around his head, heavy bandaging around his shoulder, lying face down on a tilted bed, discussing events with detectives from both Virginia Tech and the Blacksburg Police Department. Gerry looked, saw his parents, saw them both crying for the first time ever, and all he could think was that the drugs they had him on must be amazing. that he looked lousy enough for both his very tough folks to lose it that way. Back surgeries, shoulder surgeries, stitched head, few complications, all kept him heading in and out of various hospitals for the better part of a year. It was during one of those initial visits, while lying, going through his vast pile of mail, that he received his get well card from the assaulted. He became VT-57 shortly after returning to his dorm room, as well as beginning his research of the lunatic and what made him do what he did. He saw the video manifesto, read the 1,800-word diatribe, discovered that he had had mental illness issues since middle school, yet, remarkably and tragically, was able to purchase 2 semi-automatic handguns, one from a website run by a company in Wisconsin, one from a firearms dealer in Roanoke, simply by lying to them concerning his mental illness issues. Then he bought 10-round magazines and Jerry's old friend, the hollow point bullets, from an eBay dealer in Idaho. Gerry couldn't believe that someone like this, with a whole host of issues, would be allowed not only to attend Virginia Tech, where there had been multiple complaints from teachers and students, but to actually buy semi-automatic weapons, hollow point bullets, and nobody, no authority at all, questioning anything. And still, through all this, the injuries, the surgeries, the hospital, and the physical therapy stays, with the help of friends, tutors, and his professors, Gerry was able to graduate on time, summa cum laude, in May 2009. Proud parents in the back, having hired a photographer-videographer to take the requisite diploma shots. Charles Chip Peters began his career as a political reporter for WLBZ, NBC affiliate, in Bangor, Maine. He was there 2 years, and in May 2011, he headed to NBC WJAR in Providence, Rhode Island. February of 2015 found him traveling closer to his D.C. home, to Roanoke, Virginia, and NBC WSIS. By now, his beat was politics, both local and national. What might have been even more remarkable was, like a great sports play-by-play announcer, everyone thought Chip Peters was on their side. He played every issue, every controversy, straight down the middle. No opinions, no side remarks, just straight news and facts. There were 2 people who knew the real Chip Peters. Of course, both of them didn't know him as Chip, they knew him as Gerry. "Hi, Dad." "Son, what the hell?" "What the hell what, Dad?" "You know exactly what the hell what. I'm watching you online and you're talking about this conservative shit like you believe it. And guns. Good God, son, how the hell is the shoulder? How the hell are those fragments doing in your back that could put you in a damn wheelchair?" "Calm down, Dad." "Calm down my ass. My son almost gets torn apart and I'm supposed to say nothing?" "Dad, I watch you and Mom online. You don't exactly say nothing." "Damn right, but we keep you out of it. Never mention your name." "I appreciate that, Dad, because just in case you both have forgotten, I'm knee-deep in gun country right now, and it wouldn't help me if everyone knew my folks were the 2 biggest bleeding heart liberals on television." Knowing chuckle. "Well, Gerry, got a point there." "Don't worry, Dad. There'll come a day when my voice will be the loudest for comprehensive gun control. This ain't the time or the place." "Okay, son. Love you. Love you and Mom, too." There was also the assaulted site. Everyone knew VT-57 was very much for a sweeping ban on all semi-automatic weapons, and why. What they did not know is what he did for a living, and where. On August 26th, just a few short months after Chip arrived in Roanoke, 2 new friends of his from another station were shot and killed live on air. The weapon that killed them was a Glock 19 9mm, one of the 2 weapons the lunatic used at Virginia Tech. That day he called in sick, his first sick day since he began his career, and spent the whole day on the assaulted site. It was this day that he first met Navy Yard 14, Maxine, as his mentor, and Fort Hood 44, Stacy, and the first day he really researched other mass shootings and their victims on the site. He attended their funerals. He attended memorial services. He helped edit a piece on the reporter and the cameraman. And still no gut response. Still no cry from him for gun control. Not there. Not yet. Gerry Chip was still at WSIS in late June 2018 when he received a call at home from Maxine, first apologizing for calling him at home, then asking if she could send a friend of hers, Antioch 10, down to Roanoke to talk to him about a plan concerning gun control. He wanted to hear more. She gave him an outline. He immediately agreed to the meeting, 7:30 p.m. Tuesday night at his favorite restaurant, Table 50, 309 Market Street Southeast. Ray arrived at 7:15. It had taken close to 3 hours with traffic. He wasn't too familiar with Roanoke, having done a small deal there over 20 years ago. Thank God for GPS, he chuckled as he arrived. He waited for Gerry for about 30 minutes. He finally arrived, apologizing profusely. Ray recognized him immediately. He'd been watching him on the WSIS site. They got a table in the back, ordered dinner, talked about how each of them ended up on the site, and their mutual admiration of Maxine. Ray started. The reason I wanted to meet you, yes, I'm in. Ray sat staring, the fork holding a piece of filet mignon suspended halfway between his plate and his mouth, which at that moment was ajar with shock. What do you mean, yes, you're in? I haven't said a damn thing yet. You didn't have to. Fort Hood 44 did all your legwork. Yeah, Stacy's in. She said you and she had worked up something. Stacy and I feel exactly the same way. Unless something dramatic happens, something incomprehensible to the public, nothing will change. More people will die, more students will die, more children will die. Gerry, that's all well and good, and I applaud you for feeling the way you do. Don't. Don't what? Don't bring my family into this. Gerry, I'm sure Stacy told you that I'm looking for men and women with no family ties. What I've been calling, myself included, damaged goods. This plan is not going to end well for almost everyone directly involved. And for those that survive, they will surely be looking at either the death penalty or a shit pot full of years in a federal joint, or to be looking over their shoulder, wondering if this is their unlucky day. And let's not forget, the great Commonwealth has the shortest time in the country between conviction and execution. I know. I've covered them. So how can you ask me not to bring them up? After Stacy told me about your plan, I did my research, kid. Your folks aren't just your regular Stan and Sarah from Springfield. They're two of the most recognizable faces in the D.C. area and maybe the United States. Gerry dropped his friendly facade. I'm not your kid, you asshole. I'm a celebrated, honored journalist who is about 10 times smarter than you'll ever wish to be. If you don't want me to be a part of your plan, get your ass the fuck out of here before I throw you through the fucking window. All said in a very calm, rational tone, as if he were reporting on the Roanoke mayor's race. Ray studied him. The only thing that betrayed his actual feelings were his eyes. And his eyes said he'd rather stick a steak knife in Ray's neck than finish his meal. Ray's irrational side wanted to reach over and smash his pretty boy face. Ray's rational side understood where the anger was coming from. Okay, Gerry, I'll accept your points as presented. If you're so adamant about joining us, why? You do have a great career ahead of you. You are brilliant. That can't be argued. You are movie star handsome, so the camera loves you. And you have an amazing use of foul language, almost as amazing as Marion did. Gerry's turn to soften, then to chuckle. I'm sorry, I got a little hot under the collar. So, why? Why did you get so hot under the collar at joining a plan that will lead you quite possibly to an early grave, to a very long stretch in prison, or to be looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life? Why do you insist on not just detouring down a side road, but flinging you and your career off a cliff? Ray, why are you doing it? Somebody has to. Plus, my life is over. I lost my life partner. I lost my life. There is not 1 second that goes by that she's not on my mind. No one should ever have to feel the way I ever feel again. I understand, Ray. I've never had a life partner. I've never come close to one. I let no one close. People say they feel they know me when they watch me. It's because that's the only time I feel comfortable around people. Even before the shooting, I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. My dad came up with a project where I would observe the who, what, when, where, and why of wherever I was, then go back home and record it in a journal. Ray, I have 96 journals full of stuff, and I'm doing 97 right now. The only way I feel normal is to treat everything, dates, sporting events, shopping, everything as work. I don't want to keep going. I don't want to do anything but be done. And I want justice. Justice for myself, justice for all those who lost their lives at tech, justice for all those who keep losing their lives. This has got to stop for me and everyone else. Okay, Gerry, welcome aboard. Cover for me again this plan Fort Hood 44 said you and she cooked up. Gerry told him, and Ray was amazed and delighted. Hell, you are smarter than me. Gerry said the only thing he could say. I know. They both laughed. Gerry, you said you needed a third. Who do I contact, and does Max have the information? Maxine has all the info. San Bern 22. San Bernardino? Yep.